Charles Dickens shot to literary stardom at the age of 24, and he produced bestsellers until the day he died. Yet his own life reads as excitingly as any of his books. Like the young Oliver Twist, he knew what it was to be sad and neglected. It was a true rags to riches story, and began when he was a young boy. To understand him as a man and a writer, we need to look carefully at his early life, as it was the wellspring of all his work. He was born Charles Huffam Dickens, the second child of John and Elizabeth Dickens. The year was 1812, just at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, and his father was a pay clerk in the British Navy. They lived in a quiet street in Portsea, now called Portsmouth, not far from the docks. Dickens was born on February the 8th, a Friday, always regarded by him as a lucky day. He had an older sister called Fanny, who was only 18 months older than he was, and she was his chief companion and friend in childhood. 6 other brothers and sisters followed in course of time. When Charles was 5, the family moved to Chatham, another naval dockyard, and here began the happiest years of his childhood. They lived in a house on the brow of a hill, and from his upstairs bedroom, Charles could see the masts of sailing ships in the harbour. The town itself was rough and dirty, with drunken sailors lurching along its streets. Perhaps it was this exposure to life in the raw that gave Dickens his love of characters who were odd and different. Even as a child, he noted everything about a person, their speech, mannerisms, and dress, and years later he could describe them in detail. He had a photographic memory, and these early impressions of Chatham appear in some of his books. In complete contrast to rough and rowdy Chatham was Rochester, the neighbouring town. With its ruined castle and ancient cathedral, it had a serene and peaceful atmosphere. Dickens appreciated its quiet beauty, and he made Rochester the setting for his first novel, Pickwick Papers. Interestingly, it was also the setting for his last novel, Edwin Drood. To the imaginative small boy, Rochester was the backdrop for all his favourite stories, and every corner of the old town had associations with his heroes. He thought the town hall was so splendid that it could be the palace of the genie in Aladdin. Charles was an avid reader, and so real were the stories to him that he identified with the heroes and became one with them. For a whole day, he would imagine himself as Aladdin, for example. This ability to immerse himself in a character never left him, and years later, when he gave readings from his books, he was able to switch parts at will. This fascination with books was due in part to the fact that he was a sickly child and could not join in rough-and-tumble games with other boys. All the same, he did enjoy their company and would lie on the grass with a book in front of him while they played cricket.